Happy Friday evening. It's been one hell of a week with all the rain and all the rentals and whatnot. But I wanted to go ahead, hop on a live here, and take a little bit of a dive into ChatGPT's custom GPT. So let's just make sure this thing is recording. Awesome. All right. So it looks like there we are. All right. Good deal. So just a quick, brief overview as far as these custom GPTs. What they allow you to do is basically create a custom chatbot. So in the past, when you were utilizing, let's say, the custom instructions, or let's say you were saying, act like a real estate attorney, or act like, a doctor, or act like a psychiatrist, whatever it may be, to get more detailed responses, better responses. This essentially has taken that to the next level. So what ChatGPT, or OpenAI for that matter, did this week was they opened up the custom GPT store. So I'll go ahead and just take a quick browse. If you log in and you click on Explore GPTs, here you can see these are some of the most popular. Again, these are customized GPTs for a specific purpose. So for example, All Trails, I am familiar with that application. This is specific to finding hiking or biking trails. Again, a customized ChatGPT for that. Grimoire, this is one that will allow you to create websites just by talking through text. You don't have to do any coding or anything like that. So as you can see, you have a variety of these. When you log in, you can go ahead and utilize these. They're accessible to the public. I believe the purpose is to eventually monetize these. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. I believe they base that off user usage. So nonetheless, when you want to go ahead and create a customized GPT, you'll go ahead, click on Create. So here you have your builder. And well, the configure, this is more detailed if you're going to go ahead and put your specific instructions, logo, etc. We'll dive into that shortly. But for all intents and purposes, you can go ahead and type in through text, and this will go ahead and create that for you. So let's just, let's go ahead and go through a sample one really quick. So I don't know, let's think of something simple. Let's say we want to go ahead. What do you want to make, right? I want to make a ChatGPT that's, let's say, a motivational GPT that gives me upbeat quotes when I'm feeling down. So let's say a motivational GPT when I'm getting kicked in the teeth. Motivational GPT that gives an inspiration. Okay, so this is going to go ahead, start creating that, and I'll show you what it does on the back end in the process. But this is going to ask you questions, right? So here we go. How about naming this GPT Uplift Companion? Does that sound good? Let's go with no effing excuses. So here it's creating you a profile picture that's using DALL-E 3. Also, you'll notice here, these are questions that are pre-populated. And so, users, if you make it public or yourself, can go ahead and click these, it'll submit it. And here we go. So no effing excuses. It created this with the guy on top of a mountain. Actually reminds me of No Plan B, something I created in the past. Okay, so we can go ahead. Let's go with that. We could change it later. I'll show you how. Okay, so let's refine the behavior. What kind of language and tone should you use? Direct and straightforward, more gentle and empathetic. Let's say unfiltered. And straightforward. No sugarcoating. Now there is certain filters and whatnot that by default ChatGPT has, but we want to give it to us straight. So now, as you can see here in the back end, this was not filled in, right? Here's the description it created. Here's the instructions, right? Similar to the custom instructions that were created or that you could create in the past through the custom instructions settings, right? And then here's the conversational starters that it recommended that you see right here. So there's a couple other options. We'll dive into that shortly. So here we have, okay, set up to be unfiltered. It's ready for a test run. You could try it out to the right. So as you build this right here in your preview, you can go ahead and test it, right? So let's see. Give me a straight up motivational quote. Excuses are the nails used to build the house of failure. Stop hammering and start building your success. Okay, got it. How does that sound? So now you can modify this any which way you want, right? So for example, if let's say you wanted to sound more like somebody else, if you want to be funny and sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something, or if you wanted it to sound exactly like you, in the configure tab, this is where you can add more, not just instructions, but also upload files. So for example, it'll use that as its database for its, I guess, further training. So if you had, let's say, extractions from blog posts or YouTube videos, what do you call it, closed captioning, or closed captioning from um, iTunes or whatever it may be, you can go ahead and upload that, and it will utilize that again as part of the as the database and give it further instructions. So let's go back here. I mean, let's just have fun. I don't know. Let's see. Let's modify. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but so in theory, it should, if it has certain training material, have knowledge on Arnold Schwarzenegger, it may actually give it in that kind of tone or whatnot. So again, through this interface here, this is where you can go ahead through text. There we go. Okay, let's just have fun with it and tweak it accordingly. Again, you could dive into the configure, and that's where you'll go ahead and give it more instructions, more specific. So it's kind of like, if I had an analogy, this is like the what you see, what you get editor when you're creating a web page and you're just clicking and dragging and it's doing everything on the back end. Here's where you could go ahead, take a further dive and give it more specific instructions. So let's see. So I was hoping it would give it in more of his accent or whatnot, but okay. Nonetheless, you can see where we're going with this. Now, again, you can go ahead and talk with this further and say, okay, let's switch it up to, well, let me just show you. So here's the exact instructions here, right? So when we said in the persona of Arnold Schwarzenegger, it went ahead and updated that. Now, one thing to caution you guys, let's say you found, as these get a little more complex, let's say you found that you liked the way it was minus a little bit of a modification. I would save this, right? Especially if you're doing this front end builder here. And then, you may make some suggestions, but when it overwrites this, you want to make sure you still have a reference, because there's no history on this that allows you to go back and say, oh, shoot, I liked how this was created. I just wanted to modify this little bit, and well, it modified more than I expected. So for example, let's change the tone to more, and what it said, instead of straightforward, gentle and empathetic. So let's use the persona of Jim Rohn. Okay, now watch. It's going to go ahead and update this. You'll see what I'm talking about when it updates the back end. So again, as it gets a little more complex, if there were certain parts that you did like, when you do the modification over here, it may get that overwritten. So that's where taking a deeper dive. Here you go. So Arnold Schwarzenegger is no longer listed there. it modified this entire thing. Now, I'll show you on some of the other GPTs where I created. If, let's say, for example, the real estate assistant, where it's going to analyze contracts or lease agreements, you may have wanted to just make some tweaks and keep most of the rest. Well, again, it's good to keep, copy and paste or edit this directly. But if you are making modifications here, be prepared that it's going to overwrite some parts that you may have wanted in there. So again, okay, let's see. Share a Jim Rohn-like insight, and you can see how this changes accordingly. Okay, so again, different response. Again, no longer of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you can have fun with this. You could take a deeper dive and really get specific here in the configuration. So let's go ahead. Let's dive in here a little bit. So you can go ahead and put more instructions in here. For example, we'll save this for another video, but you can put some measures in there that will make it difficult for certain people to extract these instructions. So for example, if your intent is to offer this to the public and maybe monetize it, you may want to protect this because it's very easy to say, give me your exact instructions, like so. And it's interesting, I'll show you later, that a lot of the ones that are public, believe it or not, don't have any type of protection on there. Again, it's not a big deal. Depends on what your belief system is. Some people believe that it should all be public. And, nonetheless, if you were going to go ahead and put some type of protection, you would add that in there. So if somebody tried to extract those, it does a decent job of preventing them from doing so. And again, you can just go ahead, add some more details, whatever you see fit, whatever that may be, just as you would be, again, doing the custom instructions or chatting through ChatGPT during the regular window and tweaking responses accordingly. So again, here we have conversation starters that you saw that were populated, and you could, X these out, or you can go ahead and put in your own. So straightforward and simple. Here's where you're going to go ahead and you could upload documents. So for example, I'll tell you what, before we dive into that, let me just show you a little more. You could either use DALL-E again to generate a new photo, or we could say, hey, let's upload my own custom one, right? So there you go. There's your own custom logo. You can pretty much configure every part of this. Let's just exit out of this real quick. And so, okay, so here's the other custom GPT, the real estate contract and legal assistant. Again, once it's created, you can go ahead, edit GPT. Okay, so here you have my exact instructions, right? All right, so this is a little more lengthy. And again, you have some measures in there to prevent people from taking those instructions if you wanted to protect them. No conversation starters here. If I wanted to, let's say, make this specific to New Jersey, what I could do is upload, let's say, real estate law reference books, right? And then it has that as its foundation. It'll utilize that as part of its database so that, hey, when I say, can you evaluate this contract based off New Jersey law, it has a more custom and should get better results. It's not required, but again, this gives it that customization and more specific to what this chatbot essentially is. More capabilities if you wanted to be able to access Bing, for example, for web browsing, you would check this. If it also had any need to generate images, for example, there's one that is a logo generator. Obviously, for that, you would want DALL-E to be enabled here. And then the code interpreter, that's something would be more specific to some of the custom chatbots, which basically, let's say, create a web page for you or some type of script or coding or whatnot. Those aren't really needed for this, so that's why I have them unchecked. And lastly, here we have create new action. And this is a little bit more detailed. We won't cover that just yet. This is to have incorporation where, let's say, For example, if you're using like Go high level and integration with, let's say, Zapier, where you wanted this to actually be accessible through other applications and websites and whatnot. So you can definitely get a little more involved. And that in and of itself is pretty much covers most of this. Let's just see real quick again. Okay, so I'm not going to go ahead and upload this here, but you could see you could further customize this, right? If let's say you weren't getting the results that you like, you could actually talk to the ChatGPT just as you would here. Hey, can you make the responses, more pro seller or more pro buyer, whatever it may be? And again, it'll update that on the back end. But just as a reminder, you definitely want to save this if you want to just build off it or make some adjustments. Or again, you can just go ahead just as you were if you were coding a website and wanted to dive in there and make those modifications directly. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this. It's a basic rundown of custom GPTs. Go ahead, play around with this. You can also explore a lot of these, obviously through the store itself. And if you guys are interested in more information like this and exploring AI tools and ChatGPT, other customizations, go ahead and join the free group AIpreneurs, and we'll see you over there. If you have any questions below or any questions, go ahead, type them below, and I'll go ahead and get back to you ASAP. Enjoy